Hey guys,
Hi,
this is Mano,
this is Nick.
and this is Nothing of Note. We're trying something new. We're gonna react to a historical video put out by the channel Oversimplified. Great channel. They make great content. They're genuinely phenomenal. I like their stuff. So we're gonna link down in the description their channel and the original episode. Please be sure to check that out. Give that a watch if you haven't, and then come back. We can talk about it.
We'll wait.
I'll wait. Starting now. You do all that? Awesome.
Good job. Gold star.
Gold star.
Oh, oh.
No, I'm editing.
Yes. Blasters. Okay, no. Explosions. Oh, the editing war continues.
Oh no! Don't worry, we're just trying to push each other to be better at this
That's
point.
true. That's a good point.
This video is about the Three Kingdoms. It's Chinese history of what years would this be? We're talking very early, like 500, 400s, I think.
I don't know.
This will be about probably the Yellow Turban Revolt. A huge group of peasants had a uprising against the emperor. Emperor was a child emperor who was actually being controlled by some of the military leaders rather than him, because that's what you do with child kings and emperors. Yeah. You use them for your own power. It's this just tried and true throughout history. It doesn't matter. Don't put a child on the throne. Mandate of heaven. I don't care. Whatever it is, just don't do it. But yeah, this is gonna take part of this. Most of what we have about this is mostly what you could almost call mythology.
Okay.
A lot of it's written down. We have some proofs about it, time period wise, but for the most part, a lot of the writing is from the Romance of the Three Kingdoms.
Okay.
Which is an old book, and it's very exaggerated.
Okay.
On some of the feats that these characters accomplish. Like, there's a very famous spearman, Lu Bu, who takes on, armies of men by himself, kind of thing. Doesn't happen, but, it's still pretty good history. No. Just this one dude just going straight. That'd be cool.
I don't need anything else. I got my spear.
Just takes out a whole squad with like one swipe. Yeah,
Spearman.
We're about to get into this. Watch this. Maybe learn a thing or two. It'll be a lot of fun, I think.
All right, let's roll that clip.
Oh.
It actually works this time because it's
It
actually
does.
a clip. Woo!
Yeah! Explosion!
Ah!
Bonk.
This video was made possible by Total War Three Kingdoms, the brand new strategy game from the multi-award-winning Total War series.
This was
Support
a
my
pretty good
channel
game.
by using
I'll
the
be
link
honest.
in the
I enjoyed
description
it.
down below to buy the game on Steam. Also, new merch available now in the store, including a mystery new character pin.
Oh.
George
I wonder who it
Washington?
could be.
By George.
Ancient China.
Oh,
The sun
real
is shining.
ancient.
The birds are singing. The children are playing in the village square. What a wonderful time to be alive! Hey, the Yellow River flooded again and destroyed all your crops. And also we're being raided by nomadic tribesmen. And also this period of Chinese history may be entirely mythical, meaning you may not even exist. Well, that would certainly explain the laser eyes. Chinese civilization began around the year 2000 BC when the possibly mythical Xia dynasty was formed. Throughout China's history, dynasties would usually
real
rise
early
up with a powerful
ancient
leader
history.
who worked for the
Much
good.
older than I
But
thought
over
for a
time, the
second.
leaders would become more corrupt and self-serving. Someone would inevitably build a lake of alcohol, and the angry populace would overthrow them, giving way for a new dynasty to
That's
rise.
how this works.
Following this pattern,
The
the
new
Xia
emperor.
dynasty was replaced by the Shang, who liked bronze and
China
writing, but
likes
then the leaders
doing
got
this.
corrupt and
Like,
were replaced
just
by the
grow
Zhou,
big,
who liked
get
iron
powerful.
and philosophy. But that one sort of just fell
Revolt.
apart and was
New
replaced by
dynasty.
the Qin, who liked building walls and people made out of rock. But they were pretty tyrannical from the start and
Terracotta.
were quickly replaced by the Han, who liked creating new trade routes and getting in touch with their emotions. In line with this pattern, the Han Dynasty came about under
Poetry.
the strong and popular leadership of Emperor Gaozu. The dynasty remained firmly in place for over 4 centuries and was considered a golden age in Chinese history, developing new forms of art, political thinking, technology. Oh, looks like all the leaders got corrupt.
Oh.
See, probably the biggest
It's a
problem
shame.
in ancient
It happens
China's political
every time.
system that allowed so much corruption to come about all the time was a little something called court culture. Let me explain. Imagine for me, if you will, that you are the son of the Chinese emperor. Hooray! Now, apart from how weird it is that you have a ton of stepmoms, and many of them would like to kill you, and also all of your friends are middle-aged dudes with no dongs, life's pretty alright. One day, your father says, "Son, I know our relationship hasn't been the best, and I've never said this before, but I just want to let you know that I love you." Oh no, I'm having a heart attack! Look at you. Now
You're the emperor!
I'm so proud of you. But wait, you are but a child and have no idea how to rule over a massive empire. Fret not, because just about everyone in your court wants to help you out with that. Hey man, remember me? I'm your mom's bro. And
this is a common occurrence in history. It's just the kid gets in charge and everyone's got their way on how to handle it.
Yeah.
Sometimes their mother controls them, like Nero, the Roman emperor. And sometimes, an uncle will control them or something like that. It's just all the time. Happens all the time. And sometimes you just overthrow them. Sometimes you just kill the guy and you move along with that. And those are like, especially like in like Western history, a lot of things came down to what are called succession crises. So someone gets the throne, but everyone else supports the other person who has a rightful claim to the throne. And now they're going to have a war and fight it out. And typically the person with the support of like the barons and all the nobles usually wins out. And that's not always necessarily the king at the time.
Right.
The other thing you have to think about, why these, children are typically not even prepared. You don't want them to be prepared. Because if they're prepared, they might take it from you. The nobles might like them more and overthrow you. So you can't prepare them properly. And this is just common occurrence in all monarchies ever. It's just...
You don't want them to be too good, because then they'll replace you,
Yeah. So they're typically not. And it typically just gets worse. It's lovely. I love it.
Oh, boy. How could this go wrong?
Oh, I don't know.
Anyway, I heard you needed someone to rule over China for you. I mean, to help you rule China. So hey, here's a popsicle. I hope we can get along. No way, man. We've been your friends and your personal caretakers your whole life. And even though we may have no dongs, I think you should give us all the power to rule China. I mean, help you rule China. So who
eunuchs
will you be
typically won
by?
this.
Your scheming uncle or your loyal eunuchs? And towards the end of the Han Dynasty, a string of child emperors allowed more and more power to fall into the hands of eunuchs. Oh no, now they're scheming too. They began handing out government jobs for bribes, heavily taxing the poor for their own wealth. And while you're sitting there eating your popsicle, everyone in your court is literally murdering each other to try and consolidate more power and riches for themselves. While all the peasants are outside like, hey, did you guys know there's been a drought out here for 2 years?
Yep.
Guys, obviously the people weren't too happy that while they were struggling to survive, they were also being heavily taxed.
We're gonna get to the Yellow Turban revolt here.
Rockin' mansions, complete with swimming pools and Alexas. So finally, when a self-proclaimed Taoist wizard came along and was like, you know whose fault it is that we're all out here starving? It's the emperor and his posse. They've lost their mandate.
It's a nice hat.
And the imperial family must be destroyed with an...
He talks about losing the mandate of heaven. The reason why China decides that someone's worthy of being emperor is because they have what's called the mandate of heaven.
Okay.
It's not any different, like, of the idea that kings and emperors in the West were, put there by God kind of thing. 'Cause that's the mentality, like the Pope crowns emperor kind of thing. Where divine rule, I think is what it's called in Western culture, where it's you're put there by the higher being, by the powers that be, and that's why everyone should respect you. But this guy is saying that your emperor has lost the mandate of heaven, and therefore needs to be replaced with someone who has it.
Yeah.
So, but that's also why Chinese history, it doesn't have like the crazy secession crisis that you typically see in the West because of the mandate of heaven.
Oh, okay.
Whereas in the West, we're a little more fast and loose with a bit of that stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Unrelenting, furious wrath. Also, check this out. Huh? Can you tell what it is yet? Ta-da!
It's a kitty.
It's a little kitty cat.
Oh, you got it
Look
right.
at your little ears. The people loved his political philosophy. He promised them land reforms, and his followers grew in number. They began arming themselves and wearing yellow turbans.
Why does he
and
have
they
a
also
baguette?
developed a really catchy slogan. In the year 184, the Yellow Turban Rebellion broke out across China, with millions rising up against the Han Dynasty, and the imperial government in the capital.
I'm pretty sure I've seen something recently of like the top deadliest wars, and the Yellow Turban Revolt is still top 10.
Wow, that's crazy.
We're talking millions of casualties.
Wow.
A whole bunch.
Capital city freaked out. With all their internal bickering, they were completely unprepared and unable to deal with such a huge rebellion. So they were forced to call on independent warlords from across the empire to help them deal with this situation. Some big names took part in the fighting. I'm talking the likes of the great Cao Cao, the tyrannical Dong Zhou, Liu Bei, Sun Jian, and many other Chinese names I'm definitely not pronouncing correctly. These warlords crushed the rebellion in their own respective regions, and with casualties in the millions, the Han Dynasty breathed a huge sigh of relief.
So, you just empowered a bunch of local warlords to go beat up and take land and treasure from other defeated armies. How do you think that works out?
Uh-oh.
Exactly.
But what they didn't realize is that by relying on all the warlords and their armies, they had essentially diminished their own central control over the empire. And many of the warlords now held the power to act almost completely independently and rule over their own local regions themselves. Back in the capital, the emperor and his son were having a little chat. Listen, I know we've had our ups and downs, and I spend all of my time with your many smoking hot stepmoms instead of you. But what say you and I finally go on a little fishing trip together this weekend? Oh no, I'm having a stroke! And yet another child emperor was on the throne. This time, however, instead of the eunuch faction gaining even more power, this child emperor's uncle became his regent, who also just so happened to be the head of the imperial army, He Jin. Man, I hate those sneaky, lying, cheating eunuchs. Hey Warlord Yuan Shao, what should we do?
Kill
them all.
Yep.
Okay.
Right on.
But what if they
You can't kill the eunuchs. They're a vital part of this empire's governance. And also, they paid me a lot of money to say that about them. Ah, come on! No! So He Jin and Yuan Shao decided the empress may need more convincing. And so they called in an infamous, feared, tyrannical, overweight warlord from the northwest to help convince her. That man was Dong Zhou, and he set out for the capital city with his army. Hey guys, I heard a rumor that He Jin was planning on killing us. Then why don't we kill him first? And so it was. They lured him to the palace with a forged letter from his sister, and when he got there, they lobbed off his head.
Nice.
Oops.
Kill them all. Imperial forces stormed the palace,
Yeah.
and the eunuchs were all massacred. The peasants, who were still suffering from drought and starvation, saw what was going on.
So, for the record, the guy smacking the bottom is Hitler's dad.
Oh, okay.
Because that was a scene from his Oversimplified Life of Hitler.
And began to riot. The emperor and his brother were forced to flee the city, which was now in flames. And the feared, nasty, tyrannical, bloated Dong Zhou had just arrived. He found the emperor and his brother wandering the hills outside of the city and was understandably confused. So he scooped up the emperor, went to the capital and was like, "Hey guys, what's up? I see the capital is on fire. Also, I'm here with my army and I have the emperor with me." Wait a minute, the capital is on fire, I'm here with my army, and I have the emperor. Screw you guys, I'm in charge. So now Dong Zhou was the Han Dynasty as the emperor's regent. His first act was to say to the emperor, "Hey man, no hard feelings, but I like your little brother better, so I'm actually making him emperor instead of you, so you're free to go do whatever you want."
Oh no.
Whatever you want. You're just gonna leave someone with some power around?
Actually. Yeah, that feels better. Dong Zhou ruled with an iron fist, and he did whatever the flip he wanted. He made absolute decisions himself, showing no regard for the monarchy. He had his opponents or those who disagreed with him killed. He broke protocol, doing things like keeping his sword when approaching the emperor.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of rules on how you interact with the emperor because he has the mandate of heaven. Dong Zhou does not care.
Yeah.
Wearing shoes in the court. Sleeping in the emperor's bed.
Those are really nice Crocs. I want them in that color.
And worst of all, he would walk in the presence of the emperor. You were meant to trot. The other warlords around the empire hated him, and so they said, "Something needs to be done about this guy. What say we form a coalition and oust him?" And it was agreed. Warlords from across China, their armies amounting to 100,000 men, allied together against the tyranny of Dong Zhou. Yuan Shao's coalition consisted of some of the nation's most capable leaders, including his half-brother Yuan Shu, the great Cao Cao, and Sun Jian. But Dong Zhuo had an ace up his sleeve. His protege and
When I play
adopted
Total
son,
War, I
one
play
of the
Sun
most
Qian.
skilled and feared warriors in all of China.
Lu Bu.
It's Lu Bu. This guy was a beast of a man. He never lost a duel, and no other warlord dared challenge him to one. He was also famous for betraying just about every warlord he ever fought for, something that Dong Zhuo didn't seem too concerned about. The coalition attacked Dong Zhuo and Liu Yang, and
I
in
wonder how
particular,
that's gonna
Sun
go.
Qian's forces inflicted a heavy defeat against him, and he was forced to flee to the city of Chang'an. After this initial success, however, the war entered into a stalemate. The warlords in the coalition realized it was going nowhere, and also they all secretly hated each other. So they all went home. Dong Zhuo was safe. Until... Legend has it that a government official in Chang'an had a daughter who was hot. Super hot.
Oh no.
He invited Lu Bu to his home and promised Lu Bu that someday he could marry his daughter.
If he
Then
kills him.
he invited Dong Zhuo to his house and
Oh,
did the
no.
exact same
Ah.
thing. Dong Zhuo was so smitten that he insisted on taking her as his concubine immediately. And when Lu Bu heard the news, he was pretty unhappy. Hey man, aren't you worried that you stole Lu Bu's girl and betrayal is like his personal hobby? Lu Bu? Betray me? No way, man. Never gonna happen. Ah, crap. Lu Bu, along
that
with
went
other
well.
government officials, assassinated the tyrannical Dong Zhuo. Then they left his body burning in the streets. Some sources say he was so fat and oily, he kept on burning for days. Nice. So with Dong Zhuo
Nice.
dead, and the power of the Han government essentially decimated, China was left with a
Well,
huge power gap,
you
and
know
a
what
ton of
happens.
warlords who all slept soundly at night dreaming of being the one to fill it. Here we enter into a crazy
Oh,
and
baby.
chaotic period of civil war all across China, with so many
Yay!
people,
The dynasty's
so
gonna
much
break
betrayal,
up and
so much
fall apart,
intricacy,
and then
it
everyone's
makes
gonna
Game
fight
of
each other
Thrones
to
look like a
become the new
Dr. Seuss
dynasty.
publication. But
This is
just to
just
give
what
you an
China
idea
does.
of how crazy and
Yeah.
chaotic it was, see if you're able to keep up with this.
Oh,
Are you
boy.
ready? Here we go. Here's a rough map of the warlords throughout the Han Dynasty at the time. Half-brothers Yuan Shao and Yuan Shu were both in a power struggle for who would become the figurehead of their family. Yuan Shu made alliances with warlords in the north, along with Sun Jian, the guy who defeated Dong Zhuo. Yuan Shao also made alliances with Liu Biao in the south and Cao Cao, who was an amazing strategist and general. All of these warlords began fighting each
Oh,
other.
no.
Cao Cao began building his own strength by subjugating nearby remnants of the Yellow Turban Rebellion into his
Yep.
own forces. Down south, things weren't going
Historically
Downside.
speaking, Cao Cao is or Cao Cao. I don't know how to actually pronounce it, but historically, probably the best strategic mind out of this whole endeavor.
Mm-hmm.
He's depicted as being very smart, very tactical, and just does all the right things when they need to be done. So, just for the record, very smart strategy, man.
so well for Sun Jian, as he was killed in an ambush. So Sun 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 Ce took over. Then Yuan Shu got pushed back to the river Huai, so he ordered Sun Ce to take the territory of warlord Liu Kang. Then Sun Ce went off to capture territories in the east for himself. Cao Cao's family lived in this province over here. One day, they were murdered. Oh no,
Oops.
Cao Cao held the province's governor responsible, and so he launched a cruel invasion in which he pillaged cities and murdered
Oh
over
my gosh.
100,000 civilians. The governor sent out a call for help, and a very popular, likable warlord by the name of Liu Bei came to his aid. However, while Cao Cao was away fighting, a rebellion was staged against him in his home province by none other than it's Lu Bu.
Yeah,
Cao Cao
he's
rushed home
back.
and defeated Lu Bu, who fled to the east, which by now had been inherited by Liu Bei. Then Lu Bu, surprise surprise, launched a rebellion against Liu Bei, who fled to Cao Cao. Together, Cao Cao and Liu Bei would go on
Oh
to
my
invade
God.
and
Yeah.
defeat Lu Bu. Lu Bu offered
Honestly,
to join Cao
this-
Cao, and Cao Cao considered the
This sort of thing would be amazing for like a TV show, like
Yeah.
a Game of Thrones style show, because it's just everything like that.
Yeah.
Just constant
That's what
betrayal,
they're saying,
constant
it-
side flipping.
It makes Game of Thrones look like Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
Oh man.
the offer. But his advisors were like, no way, man, this guy's betrayed literally everyone he ever worked for. And so boohoo, Lu Bu was executed. Next, Cao Cao convinced the emperor to move in with him. Now he's in control of the Han government, something that made his allies very jealous. Yuan Shu, out of nowhere, decides to declare himself emperor of the new Zhong dynasty. Nobody liked that. His allies cut ties with him. The imperial government ordered everyone to kill him. He tried to flee to his brother Yuan Shao, but died of illness on the way. Sun Ce took over his territory, and then got assassinated. So his brother, Sun Chen, took over. Liu Bei turned on Cao Cao, but got obliterated, and was forced to flee south. Yuan Shao finally defeated the warlord to his north and could now focus south. He declared war on his ally Cao Cao, but was defeated at the Battle of Guandu. Cao Cao has now united the north, and he turned his attention to the south. In particular, Liu Biao's province was becoming a powerful threat, so Cao Cao attacked him. Liu Bei was now fighting for Liu Biao, and he held Cao Cao off for a while. But then Liu Biao died and his son took over, and immediately surrendered to Cao Cao. Liu Bei was horrified, and he fled southward to try and maintain control of the province. Cao Cao was on an absolute roll, and it looked like he would be the one to take control of China. He began making plans to attack both Liu Bei and Sun Qian, and the two of them, seeing where things were headed, met up and decided to form an alliance. Now I know that was a lot to take in, but all you really need to know at this point is that this guy is on his way to taking over everything, and he's about to throw his full weight at the southern warlords. These two have one chance, one battle, to prevent him from invading the south, and that battle was the famous Battle of Red Cliffs. To take the south, Cao Cao would need to control and cross the mighty Yangtze River. He had over 200,000 men to face against Liu Bei and Sun Qian's combined force of 50,000. How would they stand a chance when they were so outnumbered? Legend says most of Sun Qian's advisors pleaded with him to surrender, but then he smashed up a table and they all backed down. Luckily, Cao Cao's forces were ravaged by disease and exhaustion, and his northern soldiers weren't too comfortable on ships. So when Cao Cao sailed down the river and the two sides met for an initial skirmish at Wulin, Cao Cao was unable to inflict a defeat against the allies. Then one of Sun Qian's men came up with a very sneaky plan. He sent Cao Cao a letter pretending that he and others wanted to defect to his side, and offered to bring him some of Liu Bei and Sun Qian's finest ships. Nice. Little did Cao Cao know, however, that those ships were full of flammable reeds.
Who's your Smash Bro pick?
What?
Who's your Smash Bro pick? Who do you pick in Smash Bros?
Oh, Marth.
Marth?
Yeah.
Okay.
They approached his fleet, they were set alight, and destroyed his ships and camp. Seeing the situation as hopeless, Cao Cao ordered a difficult retreat through the rain and marshlands, during which more of his men fell to illness and disease. The underdogs...
So, to be fair, that's typically how you lose most of your men in a war.
Yeah.
You typically lose most of them due to things outside of actual combat.
Right.
For just about any war that you fight, but that's typically the way things go. Hitler and Napoleon lost most of their men to disease and cold. The United States lost more men to the Spanish flu than to combat during World War One.
Right.
This is just the way things go. So a well-supplied army is typically better off than a large army.
Right.
Had won, and Cao Cao would never again have another chance to take the south. Following that, the three warlords took some time to finish off some smaller competitors in their own regions, and by the year 214, China looked a little bit like this. Cao Cao continued to try to penetrate the southern regions, but had no success, and even lost the Hanzhong region to Liu Bei in 217. The former allies eventually fell out over who should own this territory here, with Sun Qian coming out on top. In 220, Cao Cao died of a head disease, and was replaced by his son, Cao Pi. Cao Pi convinced the Emperor of Han to abdicate, and then proclaimed himself the Emperor of the new state of Wei. Liu Bei followed suit, declaring himself the true Emperor of Shu Han. And a few years later, Sun Qian joined in the fun, and declared himself Emperor of Wu. And so now you have a number of kingdoms in China. How many? Count them. 1, 2, 3. 3 kingdoms.
Yay!
Except, actually, they weren't kingdoms, they were dynasties. And when the 3 kingdoms finally formed, not a whole lot happened. For the next 3 decades, they continued to engage in combat, but it almost always ended in stalemate, and nobody really got anywhere. So how did it all end? Did Cao Cao's descendants eventually realize his dream of unifying China? Not quite. Instead, the 3 kingdoms became victims of the usual problems that plagued Chinese dynasties. In Wu, Sun Qian's descendant became a tyrant, who was more interested in spending time with his concubines than governing. In Shu Han, a powerful, corrupt eunuch faction rose up, and by and in Wei, a string of young emperors gave way for a powerful family, the Sima clan, to take control of the dynasty's government. This Sima clan recognized the weak state Shu and Wu had been reduced to, and so they began making plans. I've just received this letter that says Wei is planning to attack us. Should we make preparations for war? Nah, it's probably nothing to worry about. Let's do absolutely nothing. Sounds good to me. Wei launched a full-scale invasion into Shu, which fell within a year. Then Sima Yan forced the Wei emperor to abdicate and proclaimed himself emperor of the new Jin dynasty. In the year 279, Jin launched an invasion of Wu and finally unified China in the year 280. The pattern of rising and falling dynasties, division and reunification would continue in China for centuries to come.
All the time.
Right now you may be asking yourself, But wait a minute, what would have happened if Cao Cao had his way and unified China? Or what if
would
Lu
have
Bu
happened?
never assassinated
What if
Dong
you
Zhou
played
and
one
he
of
continued
them
to
in a
rule over the Han
game
Dynasty?
called Total
What about if
War
one of these
Three
smaller
Kingdoms?
warlords had risen to the top? Dang it, what if I want to be a warlord during the downfall of the
Yeah.
Han Dynasty? Whoa, partner.
Sounds fun.
Calm down.
It's
I
actually a
actually
good game.
kind of want to play this game
This
now.
video
The
was
cool
brought to
thing
you
about
by
this
Total
game
War Three Kingdoms,
is that
a brand new strategy game that combines
it's got two
gripping
modes.
turn-based
It's got a
campaign of
mode
empire
where it's
building,
more like the historical
statecraft,
gameplay in
and
some of their other
conquest,
games,
with
and it has
real-time
what they call
battles.
romance
Choose from a
mode,
cast
which
of
takes in a lot of their like
warlords
super
and conquer the
characters
realm.
from like their
Unite
Warhammer
China
games that
under
they've been
your
making.
law.
So
Forge the
like you
next
have a
great
general who
dynasty
could take out a
and build a
whole
legacy
unit
that
of men
will
by
last
himself
through
kind
the
of thing.
ages.
Nice.
Recruit
Super
heroic characters
cool.
to aid your cause and dominate
Totally
your
worth
enemies
playing. I know a
on
lot of
military,
like Total War players
technological, political,
maybe
and
don't
economic
typically like
fronts.
this game that
Will
much.
you build powerful
It's
friendships,
beautiful,
form
the
brotherly
music's great,
alliances, and earn the respect of your
and
many
it's fun.
foes? Or would you rather commit
fully
acts of treachery,
agree
inflict
with
heart-wrenching
this
betrayals,
game
and become a master of
how
grand
much fun
political
I think
intrigue?
it is. I play it
I bet
often.
you would. Your legend is yet to be written, but one
Plus, I
thing
really
is
love
certain.
Total War.
Glorious conquest awaits. Buy the game on Steam
Oh, it's
using my link
the
in the
Pirate
description
Queen.
down below. It would also
nice.
support my channel and my work massively. So thank you.
Three Kingdoms.
Yeah, I don't know if that advertisement still works out for him, but if it does, and you think about it, go for it. But yeah, so that was Three Kingdoms.
Nice.
History. I guess that's your first foray into Oversimplified.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
I liked it. I actually I don't know like a ton. I enjoyed history in school and stuff, but
Yeah.
I never like really like deep dived into it.
Yeah.
So like a lot of my brain was like comparing it to like Game of Thrones stuff and like
Oh yeah.
Child Kings as Joffrey and Tommen.
Yes.
And stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, no, I get the concepts of it just from like media that I've consumed.
Yeah. I mean,
but
the Game of Thrones was based initially on the real historical War of the Roses,
right,
of England,
Mhm.
Where the York and Lancaster families fought each other.
Yeah.
And would both how to say? I don't want to say they ultimately lost, but their families were combined to form the next dynasty.
right.
So
Yeah. I mean, Game of Thrones takes a lot from a lot of
Yeah.
historical points, and like there's a lot of like battles in it that are very historically referenced
Yes.
to different battles. So yeah, I think that they probably did take some from some of what was happening in China as well.
Oh yeah.
as the other
I mean,
Western.
yeah, the thing you'll learn about like kingdoms and in history is that they all have the same flaw. They're all ran by humans,
Right.
and they typically all experience kind of the same difficulties.
Yeah. Well, and also whenever you look at it at a zoomed out perspective,
Yeah,
like the human lifespan isn't that long, so
Yeah.
it's like you've got oh, that guy died, his son took over, he grew up, oh, he died, his son took
Yeah.
over, but there's so many different pitfalls that can happen in each of
Yes.
their lives that then create this spider web of
yeah,
chaos.
It's a lot of fun. I love history.
Mhm.
I really like Oversimplified's content. I think it's funny and makes history digestible for people who typically don't like or care about history. I've
Yeah.
showed it to a few people who actually enjoy it, and they'll typically say something like, "Oh, well, if it was this engaging or funny, I would have paid attention in class."
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. So I think Oversimplified's doing really good work, getting tons more people into history, and I think that's good.
Yeah, Sarah doesn't know a lot of history just because she hated her teacher, I think.
Yeah.
She hated history class in school. So
Yeah.
there's been times since the two of us got married that I say something about a historical figure and she's like, "Who?" And I'm like, how do you not know that? How do you not know who that person is?
Yeah.
I figured everyone in the US at your age would know who that is, but that's not the case.
No.
There's lots of holes in the education system.
Yeah, I wouldn't put that just on America. I've had conversations with
right.
Germans about German history, and I've known more.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to be like, "Oh, it's just all education." Well, there's that, and there's just how much do you care?
Right.
If you care a lot, you'll probably know what you need to know. Typically. Sometimes you could just be wrong, though. Ever talk to someone who just really loves World War II Germany? tries to tell you that their tanks are the best things ever put to man. Oh yeah? Why'd they lose? Oh, it's fun conversation.
Let us know if you like World War II Germany.
Are you a Varibu? Anyway, we have a Discord.
Yeah.
We're going to put it down in the description. You can talk to us about history now, or any of the other things that we react to. We've just recently done several anime, several Star Wars shows, so be sure to check those out. Following the rest of our channel. If you like the video, hit the like button. Be sure to check out Oversimplified and hit like the original content, because honestly, I think they do great work and make history fun and viable for people who don't care. And I think that's a good thing. What else? If you like the video, hit like. I said that. If you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button. And if you want to get notified of new videos we make or new reactions, hit the bell. Again, you'll get notified for that sort of thing.
Also, leave us suggestions in the comments, or over on Discord, like we said. And we did have someone recently say that they would like to see some history stuff. So, yeah, we're going to try to accommodate. I mean, we won't be able to probably get everyone's requests, but, throw it out there. Maybe we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely leave suggestions, because we're always looking for new stuff. And if it interests you, hey, it might interest us.
Yeah.
And if not, you might see it on here and hear about how much it didn't interest us.
Right. Well, yeah. I don't know.
Thank you for watching. Y'all have a good one.
Y'all have a good one.
Y'all have a good No!
Lasers!
Why are you still waving? You've already stopped recording.